Hello everyone, welcome back to Elegon, the MMORPG that I'm solo developing. And today I'm going to be talking about all the work I've been doing this past week. So that's been primarily work around models and animation and rigging, which is something that I'm not super comfortable with. Definitely more of a programmer than a modeler. But yeah, I'll talk about how I got on with that, and I want to talk about some big technical cleanups that I've done, as well as a couple of nasty bugs that I've actually managed to fix this past week. So I'm really excited to get into all of that today. So just starting off, I would like to kind of go over just a small little quality of life improvement that I've added. So now when you're in combat with an enemy, you can click away from the enemy to deselect that target. So previously you'd have to press the escape key to do that, and it wasn't super intuitive. So yeah, this is kind of just a standard quality of life improvement that I've been meaning to put in for quite a while now. Another nice change that we've got is when you're hovering over an entity that is a mob, you're now going to see a tooltip in the bottom right of the screen. So this is just a nice feature to have, because right now it just shows the mob's name and their level. But later on, I can imagine, adding more details to this tooltip, maybe information about their health, what type of creature they are, things like that. So yeah, this is definitely a welcome change. So as I say, the primary focus of development this past week has kind of been not in Godot, it's been over in Blender. So I've been working on the human male and human female character models, as well as their rigging and the animations. And I've been trying to tidy that all up and make them just look better and feel better when you're in game. Previously, the feedback for the animations and rigging was actually quite positive. People were happy about how responsive it felt when you're moving around and engaging with the character models. But there were a few problems that I really felt like needed to be fixed sooner rather than later. And I'm very happy to say that those all have been resolved now. So the main problem was that initially I implemented the animation and rigging for the human male character. That was the only model that we had. And then when I introduced the human female character, me not knowing much about rigging or anything like that, I basically mapped across the male animations and rigging to the female character model. And this kind of worked, but it caused quite a few problems, and it caused the female animation to not feel quite right. And I think that was due to, well, first of all, the male model is slightly bigger, so it was kind of trying to shrink those down into the female rig, and it didn't really make a lot of sense. And yeah, it didn't just feel supernatural. So what I've done this past week is, from the ground up, I've got dedicated animations and rigging for the male model, and then dedicated animations and rigging for the female model. So they've all got the same animations, but they've got the same list of animations, but the animations are separate. They literally have bespoke animations for each model. As well as this, I've also made the transitions between animations smoother, whilst trying to keep the snappy feel, because I got a lot of positive feedback about how the client felt very snappy and responsive. So I've tried to retain that, but I've also been working on making the transitions a little bit smoother. I also finally added an animation for when your character is preparing to go into combat. So if you're like right clicking an enemy and you're gonna be attacking that enemy, your character will take on a more offensive stance, which it kind of just feels like more responsive, more like the game is listening to what you're trying to do. Previously, when you would attack an enemy, your character would kind of just stand idle until that first auto attack, and it just felt a little bit weird, and you weren't sure for a second or two if your character was actually going to attack or not. So now, yeah, the characters take on this more sort of combat ready stance, and it just feels a lot more responsive. So while I haven't covered every single animation in this past week, I have done significant progress to improving the models and animations in the game, and this is going to be, as with all things, it's going to be an ongoing bit of work, and it's only going to get better and better. I've also added some animations that are currently unused, but they will be getting used in the future, so look out for things like fishing, mining, swimming, that's another one. So yeah, good things to come. Beyond the work that I've done on the animations and rigging, this week I finally tracked down and fixed a big issue that we were having with the entity event system. So there was a huge bug where entities that weren't in the same chunk as your character, a lot of their events would be getting desynced, or sometimes they wouldn't even be getting received by the client. So for example, you would see your health go down because that's a server-side action, but you wouldn't see that kind of being presented on the client. The enemy wouldn't really be showing itself to be attacking you, things like that. And that was because there was quite a significant bug with the event system that was causing events to not propagate all the way through. So I'm very happy to say that I did catch that, and it did take quite a little bit of like playing around trying to figure out what even the problem was, until I realized that it was to do with the chunk system, and then that's when I realized it was to do with the entity system more specifically. So I've fixed that now. So when events fire off, they will correctly map to the right chunks, and your character will also be subscribed to the correct chunks, so none of those events will get missed anymore. So just rounding this video off, as always, there's plenty of bug fixes that have happened this past week. There was one where there was a bug where you could rotate your character even if you were dead, so fix that. There was a couple of other bugs and issues. I've also implemented quite a few optimizations, and that's part of the client-side cleanup that I've been doing this past week. So I've been trying to remove resources and files that aren't really necessary, and just cleaning up the structure of the client-side code. Overall, this past week has been super productive. I'm really happy with the progress made on the project, and yeah, I'm really excited for you guys to hop into the PTR and try it out and let me know what you think. So this build has been live on the PTR since last night, so if you want to check out anything that I've been talking about today, absolutely feel free to do that. That'll be in the link in the description. You can just go over to the Steam page and the playtest will be there if you're interested in that. It's completely free and it's running 24/7. So yeah, coming up next, we can be expecting updates for things like floating health bars above enemies. That's something that I personally really would like. I'm going to be adding some support for tab targeting, so proper tab targeting rather than having to click enemies manually every time. I want to give the loading screen a bit of a refresh as well. I'd love to display hints and tips on the loading screen. I think that would be kind of just a nice improvement. A big one that will be coming soon is the loot drop system. So enemies will be dropping loot, and you'll be able to loot those items, equip them, sell them. And then lastly, I want to be adding some more social features to the game. So I'm going to be thinking about adding a friend system and a whisper / like private messaging system. So that'll be like chat channels. You know, this can kind of be circumvented right now because obviously we are on Steam, so there's the Steam friends and Steam messages, but I would like to support that in game. So I do just want to say a massive shout out and a big thank you to our latest Patreon member, Systems Blue, for coming in on the legendary tier. So that's super generous. So thank you so much. All the support over on Patreon really does genuinely help. It's really helping the project, helping me develop it. So yeah, thank you so much, Systems Blue, for the support this week. So that's everything that I pretty much have to share for this week. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this episode and enjoyed hearing about all the updates to Elegon. I was very excited to get this one out. I felt like I was working on these updates for quite a while here. And yeah, modeling, Blender, rigging, animation is not really my strong point. I'm definitely way more comfortable in a code editor and in Godot. But yeah, I feel like this past week was very successful, and yeah, I'm really happy with the improvements made. So thank you everyone for watching, and I will get back to work and I will see you in the next one.